Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is gamerisdc, and this is Age of Empires 2. Now, previously, while we were doing stuff, I was streaming the Best of 3 series between Alfred the Alpaca and Genghis Khan, and that was a beautiful first series to start. However, currently, because I am going through some complications in my real life. Oops, sorry about that. This isn't the perfect recording. Why? Show everybody that you're here. Because of the complications I'm having in real life right now, I'm not able to stream the series, even though it has just been played a few days ago. But I will still be casting the series in a YouTube upload. So please go and subscribe if you haven't, because I am going to be uploading my entire Hidden Cup cast, NNL Hidden Cup cast on my channel. So let us move on to Group 2. So Group 2, so let me explain a few things before we move on, okay? Shock actually can't change his in-game pseudonym, okay? And because he's one of the few people in our clan that doesn't have a Steam version of AoE, he has the Microsoft, aka the Xbox version of AoE, so he could not make a Steam account with a Steam alternate account to play in this NNL Hidden Cup. However, our clan leader Fan has made an exception to allow Shock to not only be able to participate in this event, but also compete with his name known to the public. So I don't think that it might really affect a lot of people, but it also gives me a chance to actually quickly talk about Shock, because I think this guy has actually been putting in the hours and putting in the practice to get better at the game. Now, the other thing I want to mention about Group 2 is, so one of the group heroes is named Khalid bin Al-Walid, but if you look at the actual Khalid, the name is Khalid Ind Al-Walid. Pardon me if I pronounce it wrongly. And that has to do with the complications arising from making alternate accounts on the Microsoft servers, because if someone else is sharing that name, from what I understand, if someone else has a similar name to what you have, they won't allow it. Basically, they won't allow the name to be put in the game. So this player, I presume, has not been able to use the proper name of Khalid, which is fine. So we'll just call him Khalid the next for the cast. But this is our next Best of 3 series. It is between God's Own Sling and Shockgames32. So I hope you all are excited about this, because I certainly am. It is going to be an interesting series, of course. With a name like God's Own Sling, I can only imagine how amazing the game could be. So let's get in on the game. I hope you all have a glass of water or some snacks, because this is going to be a lovely game to spectate. A lovely series to spectate, actually. So we'll move on to Game 1, and Game 1 is going to be on European Rumble Arabia. So, spawning on the green, in the green, as the Japanese is Shockgames32. And in the southeast corner of the map, and someone got housed very briefly, is God's Own Sling in the blue, playing as the Lithuanians. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am not streaming, so this is still very improvised. I would say that not really pointing the ship is a slight mistake, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, sometimes you do struggle, even at a higher elo. Okay, higher elo players still get housed, higher elo players still get mismatched micro. But Lithuanians versus Japanese, I'll actually say that this matchup can go either way. Lithuanians, of course, with the plus 150 food, is going to be very, very helpful early on, because it will allow them to do Drush. It will allow them to get into Feudal Age better. They are one of the few civs, I feel, that have appeals to both lower level players and high level players, because that 150 foot is a very flexible way to play around with it. There is a bit of idling from Shock, so it seems that there's going to be half a view behind. So I don't think it really mattered that much in the elos that we're looking at. But we'll see how it goes. But we'll look at God's Own Sling's map. He currently has a pretty decent safe berry and gold to take in the back of his area. Pretty forward gold and forward stone. And actually all his stones are forward. His wood lines are a little weird. Okay. And okay, good pull on the ball. And he actually pulls a few wheels to take the sheep. So probably about 1-2xx to 1-3xx around this level, considering. 3 on wood. Yeah, this looks like a scout build from the Lithuanian player. And here we look at Shock. Only 4 on wood. Now that's actually very interesting. So personally, in order to maximize the efficiency of the Japanese Civ, the Japanese Civ mills, lumber camps, and mining camps all cost 50% less wood. So basically, 100 wood, instead of spending 100 wood, you spend 50. But it looks like Shock is going to put up a very forward house and maybe start some walling. Actually, I must say that Shock has much better wood lines than God's Own Sling. Because the Sling man, he has 2 forward wood lines and some far wood lines over here. It's going to be very difficult for both of these players to wall. And Shock also has a hill here, so it could be quite disadvantageous if Blue recognizes this and goes for archers. Lithuanian can open crossbow, to my knowledge. I believe they do have it. Yep, they do have crossbow. So Lithuanian can open crossbow, ME into crossbow, into knights. It's certainly a possible pickup, but Japanese guy gonna pull up the ball. And so far so good. 4 on berries, 4 on wood. Yeah, this looks like a very standard ME build from a Japanese player, but not as optimized for Japanese because he's gonna lose a wheel to the ball. That's a little unfortunate. So he's about 1.5 wheel behind now. No, he's actually 1 full wheel behind now. Yeah, he's 1 full wheel behind. Oh, he actually types RIP. No loom on either of these players right now. RIP happens. Oh, did he actually see that? I'm actually not sure. Or did he shoot his sheep or something? Or did he fuck up the deer push? I didn't even see the deer push. I still don't understand why it's ostrich and zebra. It's a very weird one. Is there actually a difference? I don't think so, right? Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a difference. But yeah, if you look at the builds from both of these players, I think both of these players are going quite to the latter on their build order. Although I would say it's a bit surprising to see Lithuanian walling up so early. Did he see the... No, there's no barracks yet. Okay, we are going to have a scout trying to kill a veil, and this is a loomless veil as well, so the wall could potentially be stopped. And actually, if Shock had actually went for a drush, because at this timing, the drush should be hitting now, it could be very crucial. But yeah, this veil might die. Alright, losing a veil for a scout. I guess it's pretty decent. Let's take a look at his scouting and see whether he found what needed to be found. Okay, so Shock is quite a vocal player in this one. But Shock doesn't see any barracks yet, and it's already 8 minutes, so I think it's safe for him to assume that it might be her damn hotkeys. Oh, okay, I see. So it seems that God's Own Sling kind of messed up a little bit there. I think maybe he didn't click room or something. But yeah, this is actually very interesting. So, I was actually talking to Shock the other day about the value of going MAA in a certain fashion. He does have 9 on wood, which is actually pretty decent if you're going Japanese. I think it's actually a decent one. This is a very interesting wall, I would say. Very, very interesting wall. I would wall to the wood line. And besides, he just lost a veil. And God is going to take God's Own Sling's gonna take his own wood over yonder. He doesn't have quite enough wood yet though. So that's the one thing I really don't like about this map of God's Own Sling, because the wood line is very far. So in this specific situation, actually going for straggler trees might even be a better option, because it buys you just enough wood. Because if you're going for this tight 19 pop scouts, you want the stable the moment you clicked up to feudal. So not having the wood to go up to get the stable is going to be quite rough, and you can see that the wood cutting upgrade over the stable upgrade. I'm not sure if I agree completely with that. But yeah, Shock is going to come in with his starting militia. Of course, our dear friend does know that the militia is coming, and he's fully walled, which is nice. But you have to remember that once Shock clicks up to feudal, he's going to research men-at-arms because he has the resources for it, and he's actually gearing up his goal because he knows that he's going to hit. He might follow it up with Archer's build once he creates a hole. But the problem is, like I said, without your starting scout, MAA is actually very hard to do. And actually the view here is not focusing on building archery. He finally notices. And he is house, so maybe he should try and send one of his walling veils to make a house. He has 3 at the moment. He has 3 or 4, which is actually really good for the Japanese player, because in this specific circumstance, yeah, the stable is up too late. I don't think he'll be able to get the damage in. I feel like God's own Sling really needed to chop a few straggler trees. Like actually chopping straggler trees is better, or even sending them to the first lumber camp would be better, because just not having the wood to build your stable once you hit feudal age is actually a very big deficit. Okay, because the amount of when you're running 19 pop scouts, your scouts needs to go in before walls. It needs to go and hit the other guy. It needs to do damage. Right now, the Lithuanian player doesn't really, his opening hasn't really made sense, if what I'm saying makes sense. But yeah, he did take the wood cutting upgrade, which is gonna help his eco. I'm not sure if he took horse collar because I was a bit busy looking at the, yeah, he did take horse collar. So technically his eco is set up to go knights in the long run. But yeah, like I said, the man-at-arms is not going to do much right now. Double range going up for a Japanese player. Actually, double range MAA could work. Double range with MAA could work, but currently the scouts are coming, and the one archer is going to spot the scouts. But the problem is, like I said, because the God's own Sling took quite a while to get his scouts up, Shock is pretty much fully walled. The scout rush is not going to do much damage. Okay, well, he does lose like 1 archer, 2 archer. I mean, that's a pretty big like slowdown, but the spear is coming out, and he's going to add spears into the mix very soon. And Lithuania is going to add an archery range, so we're going to see scout scum against MAA archers. And Shock is making spears. He is idling his TC a lot though, which I feel like is a little bit of a problem, obviously. But yeah, both players spending their rest quite efficiently. I would not put this many. Oh wait, this is Shock. I would not put. Actually, their rest distribution is quite good, but oh no, Lithuanian player, he actually effed up a little bit. He's gonna let the MAA in. He did do a mini Viper, but the archer is shooting the archery range. The Veil making the archery range. He does get the archery range up, which is good. But now, I think if Shock camps here and keeps the wall open, I think he'll be in a very good position. 2 scouts over here still waiting, and the spear really needs to join the army right now. Now just leave an archer here. Just leave like a few archers here to keep the wall open, and all will be good. God's own Sling is really struggling right now because, yeah, well, we see the archer coming out, which is nice, but I feel like in this game you shouldn't go archers, you should just go skirms as lift, because you already saw that your enemy made like a double range. Yeah, you saw your enemy made a double range already. So like transitioning into a skirm build is much better, and oh my god, the archer is actually the build, so many builds are dying to this. So despite the eco lost time from Shock, he's making very good use of his man-at-arms right now. Of course, 2 range archers do beat 1 range archers. So I really feel like the God's own Sling needs to make skirms, needs to get armor going. He does have the rest for skirms actually. Yeah, not making archers is probably a mistake here. I feel like he needs to go skirm, because like I said, once those few archers start leaking through and start building up the numbers, yeah. The other thing that Shock needs to do is add the spears into his army, because right now his archer mass isn't quite big enough. He needs his 2 spears to join the main archer army, and he needs to organize his rest a bit better, obviously. So let's take a look at his rest distribution. Not bad, I would say, but I think he needs to spend his wood. He needs to keep building archers. He needs to keep adding farms until he reaches like 15 or 16. And then he will be quite good to go. He's floating a lot of resources, and I know it's quite normal too, because you're very focused with controlling the army. But yeah, these small things, they all take practice and they all take time. I would guess, based on the way these 2 players are opening up and the way these 2 players are playing, they are about the 1200 to 1300 bracket. And God's Own Sling has already made his 18 on farms. So he is very set up to go double stable knights. He just needs to add the second stable, and he just needs to not die before reaching castle age. He is keeping the skirms in his range though, so this is very important because keeping your skirms in your range before they hit their peak number of 4 or 5, which is good to kill archers, is actually really good here. So like I said, these players are quite average, slightly above average, because they do have a rough idea of how their builds go, and the skirms are finally coming out with the archer armor. So the way to play against like skirms like this is like what Shock is doing. He's actually diving the skirm, so he's trying to make use of that minimum range to kind of pick off the skirms. Okay, so one range skirm with armor, what do you do in this situation? One, you keep making archers. Okay, Shock actually doing quite a good job here of pulling off the pulling the views off the wood line. So I think this is actually not bad value because he's gonna lose his initial archers. But what he needs to do right now is keep the archers away. Just keep making the archers and keeping them away and not make skirms. Because for every skirm you make, you delay your castle age by about, I would say, 15 seconds. I think that's a very rough gauge obviously, but 15 seconds delayed in castle age could be quite disastrous, especially when your opponent is a Knight Sith. So Shock is still not making views. Yeah, Shock has this very bad habit of not making views. He does have a view lead, but like I said, God's Own Sling has already clicked up with his first stable, and he already has bloodlines on the way. Once he adds the second stable, which I'm not sure he will, or she, I don't know. Actually, there's not really any female contenders in this NNL hidden cup. But yeah, once the Lithuanian player gets up his second stable and starts cranking out knights, this is going to be a very hard game for Japanese. It's going to be a very hard game for Japanese. So whoever seizes the map control will probably win. So now we have 5 skirms mixed in with our archers. So that's actually quite a decent amount. So right now what Shock really needs to do is, one, he needs to get his eco set up properly. Look, you can see a bit of inefficiencies here. So he needs to refresh his lumber camps. He needs to reorganize his go. He might even go for a castle here, just because castle dropping your enemy while you're still a little bit ahead is going to be very important. Because depending on the way these players open up, how many TCs, how many it's really going to matter in the long run. Let me see his Fog of War. So he does know that he does have one primary goal at the back. So now God's Own Sling is up to castle first, and he's going to start making knights. Of course, like I said, could have been better if he added a second stable. Let's see his res. Yeah, he definitely has the res setup, the eco setup for a second stable. But he's going to drop a town center, which isn't too bad in this situation, like I said. Yeah, does he have wheelbarrow? I couldn't tell. I knew that Shock was researching wheelbarrow, but is God's Own Sling? Yes, God's Own Sling has wheelbarrow. So actually both of these players are actually quite even in terms of res and eco distribution. And God's Own Sling is going to catch up because he has his second TC on the way, and his Vil count is catching up to Shock. But like I said, this could really go either way for these players. That's why I really like I actually really like the matchup over here, Japanese versus double TC. Oh, he's gonna go for a boom. Okay, let's see if Shock recognizes this. Okay, so when you're playing against a Cav Civ like Lithuanians, keep your eye out on the knights. Okay, look around for the knights. If you don't see any knights, there's a very good chance that your enemy is going boom. So right now what I think is, in this situation, if I'm in the dark, I don't know what is going on, I would send the spear around, poke around, and try and see if I can determine where the location of knights, where the location of like TCs are. Because like, all this small information can slip through your fingertips. And so if you're not ready, you won't be ready. But yeah, he doesn't know that knights are coming, so he is going to prepare a few crossbows. The archer mess is behind here, so he might think of sniping this wood line, but he doesn't know that there's a TC yet. Like I said, both of these players have actually one really outside goal that's very hard to reach. So there's one here, there's one here, and there's one here, and there's another one over here. Yeah. So I feel like God's Own Sling needs to reveal that he has Lithuanian knights now, and he needs to get a monastery up. Because the moment you buy space with your Lithuanian knights, you need to start securing relics as soon as possible. But Shock hiding his archer mess could potentially be really good. He does have a few. Let's see how many archers there are in this. Ooh, 5 archers, 6 archers, yeah, 10 archers, not bad. But these are already +2 knights. I believe Shock did see the... Yeah, I can't tell if Shock saw the... the knight upgrades. Cause if he sees +2, crossbows aren't gonna cut it. He needs pikemen. He actually needs pikemen. So 3 TC boom going up for the blue player. Shock's really playing it passive because he doesn't know what's going on. But yeah, second TC dropped by Shock here. I'm not sure if... Yeah, because like I really feel like he really needs to see what's going on. And now Shock's base is getting hit. A bit of idle views over here. Oh no, there's gonna be a hole here. I can feel that there's gonna be a hole here. I don't know. Okay, actually no, wait, this is war. Okay, I think this is okay for Shock. He needs to be active with this archer mess. So we have a lot of knights running around. So like I said, now's a very good time to drop the monastery, and there's the monastery as I said. Monk is going out to grab the stuff, and we're gonna see a town center drop on the left next to gold. But like I said, the problem is Shock is actually down 1 TC against the Lithuanian player. So he does see the knights, and does he know that +2 is on the way? Okay, good walling here actually. I would say this is actually a decent wall. But now Shock, like I said, Shock is actually in a really bad position because uh-oh, the quick wall didn't work. Okay, so he's gonna garrison here. Okay, so at this point, you either make nunks, which you don't have monastery for, or you go... Oh wait, no, he does have a monastery. Okay, so monk defense should be okay over here. These are +2 knights and they are really very scary, but I think it should be okay for Shock. He's gonna lose quite a few views here though. The eco lead is growing ever more between these two players. Lots of food from Shock. Yeah, like I said, this is actually a really hard game because Shock is not very good at managing his eco, but he is hitting the wood line over here, so he is forcing a bit of APM out of the Lithuanian player. And actually not bad, God's Own Sling actually had to retreat his knights because he was trying to manage his eco right here. But now Shock needs to retreat these archers. Okay, lots of knights are going around. These knights can very easily clean up this archer mess, and I think he'll know. So Shock does know that there is now a TC here. If he scouts this area, he will know that there's another TC on the way. So I'm actually curious to see. Scouting is actually very important in the game, and we are going to see another garrison here. +2 knights are strong, but when you have this many crossbows, they aren't as terrifying. But Shock needs to recognize right now he needs pikes, he needs monks. He needs one of these, and one monk is not going to cut it. You're definitely going to need more, because he's a Lithuanian player after all. He's going to make a lot of knights, and you already saw that your entire archer mess here got cleaned up by knights. So he definitely needs a knight. Taking the TC is not a very good option obviously, but yeah, the build lead is growing ever more between these two players. Actually, God's Own Sling has been showing me that he has actually quite decent macro from the way he withstood the early archer attack and the MAA to the current point where he went 3 TC up and just tried to secure control with his knights while getting relics, while getting his eco up. That's not something very easy to do. Okay, that takes practice and that takes time. We are going to see a market being dropped by the Lithuanian. What is his eco looking like? Ooh, it's very nice distribution. All the rest is being spent very well. And he's going to get some knights over here. And the monk is here converting, but that's not going to be able to convert anything unfortunately. A forward siege being dropped by the Lithuanian player. This could be a very nail in the coffin for our dear Japanese friend. But the build is going to be slightly delayed. Oh, but he didn't get the build kill. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate. Okay, so what do you do in this situation if you're Japanese? If you're Japanese, you see these many knights, you see a forward siege. What do you do now? Well, you have to... Okay, first you have to build a counter siege workshop, obviously. And misclick over here, making a trade card. Okay, so obviously God's Own Sling is also very much pressured at the moment. I don't know what he's gonna do when he finds out that the trade card just comes out like that, but it's gonna be an interesting one, that's for sure. But what Shock needs to do right now, or any like player in a cav deficit needs to do right now, is start building pikes, build up your numbers, okay? Keep your archer mass going, because you already invested quite a bit in your archer mass. You have bodkin, you have crossbow, no archer armor yet, which is a bit of a pain, but yeah, okay, the siege workshop finally being dropped by Shock. And of course, this is going to answer this very well. The problem is, currently, Shock doesn't really have the rest to make a lot of pikes. He needs to refresh lumber camps. He needs to take this wood. He needs to take this wood. Like, he needs to run around the map and do more. A castle could be dropped, but where? That's the problem. Where do you drop the castle? Well, I've got a good idea. Drop the castle here. Take this gold. Take this wood. How's his map looking? Oh, he doesn't know. Yeah, that's the problem with playing in this situation. If you don't know where the other rest is on the map, it could be very deadly. But yeah, we do have one mangonel over here. Okay, so green does know that the blue knights are on top of the hill, and there's not enough. There's too many knights here. There's no way that he's going to be able to survive this one. Yeah, the archer man is going to get cleaned up quite effectively. But both barracks currently trying to produce pikes. Too much on stone. 5 or 6 on stone should be enough. Hang on, guys. Alright, we're back. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to come back from this, honestly. I feel like, well, there is a way actually. He needs to use the siege to kind of like, he needs to kill the siege. But I say this defensive siege shop is very, it's not the best siege workshop, honestly. Like, this can be sniped, and he doesn't have the rest. Like I said, I think he put too much on stone. I think 5 or 6 on stone is enough. Getting a castle is nice, but it's not the be all and end all. Oh, he's gonna drop the castle here. Oops, a little bit of house deletion there. But yeah, monastery getting repaired here. Interesting. The young garrison trick could potentially kill this mango, which could be very good here. Okay, the pikes are hitting the knights. Unfortunately, these are +5 knights. That means they are +2 knights with 3 relics. And looking at the map with the 2 relics over here, yeah, these are +2 knights with 3 relics. And we do have the trade card here, as we said earlier. Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate for Shock in this situation. I felt like he didn't really have the macro to meet up with this guy. Yeah, God's Own Sling. Oh, there was a pause, I see. Alright. Yeah, God's Own Sling has really good micro, and he already has, like I said, once you let the siege ball start rolling, you have the rams and the mangoes to kill buildings. You have the scorps to counter pikes. Yeah, mangoes counter crossbows, pikes counter pike, scorps counter pikes, knights just ram over everything, and the knights will be a very good cover. But now we're gonna see castles dropping, and I'm still not sure if you should do this, honestly, because like I said, there are other ways to raid the rest. You can see that the back is starting to get raid. This area is completely open, and like Shock doesn't really have like a lot of extra rest to take. There's not a lot of extra rest for Shock to take left on the map. If he export left or he spot right, he would have known that there's other wood to take. But now he doesn't know there's wood, and his opponent is hitting him from behind already. And yeah, we're gonna see quite a few views killed. And God's Own Sling up to Imperial Age. I don't think that Shock can really come back from this game. Oh my god, what a game. What a game. Guys, that was quite the game actually. Very well played. The macro of God's Own Sling did not falter at all, and it's actually adding another town center here, which is a little bit excessive, honestly. I feel like TCing one of the neutral resources is probably going to be better. Yeah, so like you can see from this game that God's Own Sling, his macro really won him the game, I would say. Like his rest distribution and the fact that he was decently active on the map with his knights to try and buy space while he got his 3 TC boom behind. It's a very hard situation to read when you are the player defending. So don't blame Shock for not being able to defend against this, because honestly, this game was much closer than you think, even though God's Own Sling had a really good lead. Maybe I should have set my status to do not disturb. Anyway, that was a pretty decent game from both players. Like I said, this was honestly a very tough game to read from Shock's perspective. Because when you're defending, when you're playing from behind, because God's Own Sling hit Castle Age first, you tend to get a little panic, okay? So what Shock could have done in this situation was to maybe, when his opponent went up first, start making a few spears. Like maybe 6 spears. 6 spears could really help in that situation. When you know your opponent is a knight Sith, like Lithuanians, you start making 6 spears immediately. Okay, don't research Pikeman yet, because you don't know whether he's making knights. He could have gone boom behind this, which is what he actually did. So the early knights wasn't even really that much of a threat. So you make your 6 spears, you continue messing up your archers, and then you judge the situation. When you see the 3 TC, you add the siege straight away. He saw the second TC, okay, so he thinks, okay, he and I are even, but he actually has a third TC. So once you kind of like break into your enemy base and scout out what he's doing, cause there was still a hole here, right? There was still an opening here. Once you break into the enemy base and you see what he's doing, you actually react accordingly. He did delay his siege workshop a bit, like I said, because his eco was hit pretty hard by the raid earlier. Like I said, too much on stone. I really felt like he needed maybe 5 or 6 on stone and house this area a little bit better. Then he puts the castle here, or he puts the castle maybe not here, maybe a bit more forward, because he had time to put the castle forward actually before they really hit. Yeah, actually really good game from both these players. I wouldn't say it's very one-sided, even though it looks very one-sided just from the score. This is the power of opening, of having a strong opening. Because if you have a weak opening, like, how do I phrase it? The Lithuanian player was actually really set behind in feudal, but by making the right decision in castle, he compensated for his for the amount of pressure put on him by the Japanese player. Okay, so we do see a lot of units killed. Like I said, a lot of these are actually villagers, and like I said, +2 knights, very deadly. So like I said, I think Shock really didn't react as well to the pressure as he could. Putting a lot of villagers on gold and stone is not really very necessary, unless, okay, getting a castle is good, but like I think he put too much on stone. I think he really needed more vills on other resources. So he needed to scout the map for more wood, to get more food, and he needed to get more info of his opponent. So spears, like I said, sending like 1 or 2 spears to just walk around the edge of the wall to try and see what your enemy is up to can really make a difference, because you know how he's opening, you know what he might be doing. And even if the spears get sniped, if you are paying attention, you see what the spears have seen, you will know, okay, they have knights. If I click on the knight very quickly, I will see what's their upgrades. Stuff like that, small stuff like that. But yeah, this is a very difficult game, and I don't blame either player for what they've done. So you can see, right, because of the extra boom, he has collected like maybe 8,000 more food because of this. And like I said, put too much on stone. The more vills you put on stone, the more behind your eco on your other resources. So I usually wouldn't recommend putting so many vills on stone unless I'm going a Civ that will use the unique unit more. That means like castle unique unit, like Arambai or Conquistador. Like that will compensate the cost of putting more vills on stone. Or I'm going like some hardcore tower rush. So maybe Koreans or Japanese. Well, technically he's playing Japanese, but he didn't really use the towers now, did he? Sorry. Actually, what? I don't know why I'm like upset with my mom. Like, she does that on my streams anyway. Yeah, but once Lithuanians get map control, it is very, very hard to stop them from getting the relics and getting them. You have to really like put pressure on the Lithuanians throughout the game in order to keep the ball rolling. So friends, let us move on to the second game of this series. Like I said, both players really played that very well. It wasn't a very one-sided game. I just felt that Shock didn't really have the right reaction to his opponent. His opponent seems quite decently aware of how the game plays. So let us move on to the second game, ladies and gentlemen. This is European Rumble Atacama. My name is gamerisdc, and welcome to one of the worst maps in the pool. I'm so salty. Well, spawning in the south as the Franks, we have Shockgames32. And spawning as his opponent in the north is God's own Sling, playing as the Khmer. Interesting Civ choices here. Wow, this is a lot less wood. What the fuck? Okay, so as some of you might know, Atacama is basically the extreme version. Oh no, we have a JLHF coming out. I wonder if there was a JLHF in the previous game. Or maybe they did it in the lobby and then they never really showed it in the chat. But let's not judge these players, let us focus on the game. So welcome to Atacama. So Atacama is one of the worst maps in the pool. Just kidding. It requires you to have a certain understanding of res distribution. It is a more extreme version of Gold Rush or Golden Pit, in which you have to secure control of the center, where most of the resource you want is there. So actually, Shock is going for a long range. Actually, both players going for a long range wood. Okay, so I don't blame them for doing this, because the only really nice wood, small wood to take is right here, and I wouldn't really call it nice wood. So the first lumber camp on Atacama, I normally put it when I see two very close copse of trees. So you see this one? This is quite close. I will put a lumber camp in between these two, and I will send 4 veils or 3 veils to do the normal opening. Right? There's one here, like what I said for Shock. So you do that, you open with your first lumber camp near small copses of trees with the 4 veils. Then when you finish taking your second ball and you send your veils normally to the lumber camp, you start sending your veils forward towards the forward wood. Because when you do such a thing, it allows you, because the veils are going to walk quite a far distance between your town center and the center wood. It's a very far distance. It's about 15 tiles. It's a very far distance. So I want to actually just try and look around my base and try and find the closest copse of trees where I can put a lumber camp in between. And that will save me a bit of walking time. Because in this game, walking time is everything. Okay, if your opponent opened up with walking to the center and you open up walking to the side, oh, okay. Seems like there was a problem with VV fans back in this game. Okay, what did I want to say? Ah, yes. So, oh, the veil running to the back will be a bit bad here. So, do you realize I didn't even talk about the res distribution on this map? Because like I said, the center wood is the most important. It doesn't matter where the other resources are. So long as you secure control of the center, the game is won. Honestly speaking, once you secure control of the center and you have a very safe source of wood, the game is won. No question about it. That's why you see tower rushes, you see scouts, you see not scouts. Sometimes you see scouts, but not always. You see MAA all-ins, you see scout all-ins, you see the most hardcore pressure in Feudal. This is one of the scariest aggression maps in the pool. And some civs are just very good at that. But both of these players picked civs for this map that are not very good at applying feudal pressure. Well, Franks maybe, but I wouldn't I would not pick Franks in this matchup. So civs that will be good in this map would probably be civs that benefit from being able to exert a lot of feudal pressure. So Bulgarians is good, Spanish is good, Mongols is good. Or civs that have eco bonuses that kind of offset the way Atacama is built. So Berbers could be very good here. What else could be good? Mayans could be good here, just because you have like more preserved resources around. So actually, like, I'm very surprised that both of these players picked very interesting civs to match up for Atacama. So let's talk about the civs, shall we? Since we talked a lot about the map and how to open on this map. So both players actually getting house like mad. It's actually quite surprising that both players are getting house like mad. So what did I want to say? Ah yes, might be the fact that VV fan unable to access the game might have had to do with both of these players not really playing optimally. A 4 on berries for Franks is quite nice. So the good thing about, well, another 4 on berries on God's Own Sling as well. Both these players are really trying to make use of that advantage as far as they can. So let's talk about the matchup. So Franks versus Khmer. Khmer have double Scorp, the double crossbow scout, which double crossbow Scorp, which means their scorpions are going to be very powerful and can counter the Frankish throwing axemen and potential crossbows. Because keep in mind, guys, Franks do have crossbow. And actually their crossbow are decent. Not that great, but the Frank crossbow are decent. Could buy you some space if you go MAA archers as Franks. And actually going MAA archers as Franks is totally doable. Because MAA archers on Franks is surprisingly very strong. Because they have crossbow and they have very good eco behind it. Because an MAA archer opening is supposed to buy you time and a very good way to open up against Khmer. Khmer, however, have the farm bonus, which makes them able to get food more easily from farms, and they have what do I want to say? They don't need buildings to go up. However, Khmer building a barracks here might be good in this situation because you want to respond to whatever aggression that your enemy might put. So just having a barracks to build spears could be very good in making sure that God's Own Sling doesn't get eliminated in the game in like 10 minutes. So God's Own Sling up to feudal first. A little bit surprising that he went up lower than the Frank player, but I guess he wanted to get his hands on upgrades. He is getting double bit X and horse collar. Now here's the thing that I felt like you should have done here in this game. The Frank player should have opened MA archers. Okay, because like I said, MA archers is actually a really good opening as Franks, and with crossbow they can actually follow up the MA archers very, very well. The Khmer, well, technically his opening is correct. He went 20 pop scouts, and then he's building a few spear. Okay, he built one spear. So he wanted to see like what? Okay, so the stable does get scouted, and he does see the second scout pop up of the stable. So he does know that potentially that he might be dealing with scouts here. So spears are getting added. I really feel bad for Shock. Shock really needs to work on keeping his TC active when playing. But this is gonna be a decent pressure. However, what I don't get is, yeah, that's a very late stable drop, honestly. I'm not sure if you even go for stables as Franks here. Like I said, MA archers is a totally 100% viable option here. But having these few extra spearmen out to counter is going to be very good. And the thing is, like I said, Khmer already prepared a few spears beforehand. So changing your opening to be scouts is going to be very hard on the Frank player. It's going to be a battle of micro between these two players since both of them open up very similarly. Not sure I agree with the walls actually. Like just having like more small walls is better than having big walls, especially on Atacama, which is a very open map in this pool. So actually, like, I am a very big fan of small walling, and I actually been playing more small walling recently just because the way it opens up is very different. And I feel like God's Own Sling has a very bad habit of AFKing some of his army. Because like earlier in the other game, we also saw that he didn't really move out his knights when he needed to. But yeah, we're gonna see a couple of scouts waiting here. Like he needs to be more active with his army, but of course, Shock going forward with the spears. You can fight this. Yeah, he can fight this. Okay, so the spears are preoccupied with hitting the spears. The scouts can actually come in and land a few hits also. As long as they don't get hit by the spear, it should be fine. Making use of the scout mobility is very important when you're fighting scouts and spears, with scouts and spears. But we are gonna have the scouts hitting the walls at the same time. And actually, looks like Frank is gonna come out of this engagement. Not sure why, but oh yeah, the scouts did land a few hits. So technically that was not too bad. And the wall here is gonna prevent the scouts from coming in and doing any damage. So far, both of the Shock is doing really good in his feudal phase, but he's too busy walling this area that he needs to be active with his army. Yeah, now we finally see some spears hitting the veils here. The two scouts here being AFK kinda hurts me slightly. Like being able to micro all these small units is gonna be very helpful. And oh no, the spears are gonna get the hits on the scouts. Losing this scout here is gonna be very bad for him. Every scout you lose is 80 food. If your scout doesn't kill at least one veil, the cost of the scout is basically gone. And these 4 scouts have probably wasted so much food. But we actually see that God's Own Sling, like I said, better at keeping his TC active. So his veil count is much higher than Shock despite losing so many veils to Shock. 2.5 veil lead at the moment. Maybe 3 now because he has idled his TC. Shock is busy microing. This is one thing that I feel needs to be improved for a lot of these mid-elo players, because a lot of times they're very focused on controlling their army and they're very afraid to lose their army. But my philosophy, right, is macro is always greater than micro. So I will always make veils. I'll always make veils over controlling my army. Like even if I lose my Drush, I don't care because I'm making veils and you're not. As long as my Drush already did the initial damage, obviously. Like getting the Drush into the wood line, to the gold, those are really important and nice things to have. But they're not the be all and end all. You don't need to keep killing Veils with your Drush. As long as you are making Veils and your enemy is not, you're ahead. 4 scouts are still alive from God's Own Sling, and the final scout is gonna die. So we're actually gonna see that a God's Own Sling is actually gonna pick up Wheelbarrow, and he does have enough rest to go up. It's just he doesn't have enough gold. Not sure if I agree with this, but he's done a good job of keeping his eco active and researching Wheelbarrow. Oh dear, he doesn't have enough. Dropping the market a little bit too late, I would feel. Like if you wanted to drop the market, you could have dropped the market earlier. But I guess you were busy managing your wood for other things. So selling some food for gold, nice, you can definitely go up. So far so good from the God's Own Sling. So even though his scouts did not do any damage, the scouts were able to put on... The scouts were able to at least buy a bit of APM from Shock. Which is a little bit sad, obviously, for Shock, because what does he have in this? He has spears, he has a spear. He does have a few spears. Not sure I agree with this opening. But yeah, both of them clicking up at the same time. Of course, Shock with a decent opening, I would say. But yeah, Shock is behind by a few villagers, and despite Frank Eco like being what it is, I still feel that Khmer Eco is gonna make more impact the later the game goes. Like farm upgrades can only get you on so far because yeah, you save wood on farms, so what? At the end of the day, you're up against somebody who can save like what, 3 or 4 seconds from your Veils on going on farms. But the scouts are going to run to the back of the base. The back is very open. Unfortunately, there are 4 spears up to handle this situation. So they are on the job, ladies and gentlemen. They are on the job. They are marching towards the scouts, and the scouts is not going to find any holes in this wall. However, God's Own Sling is researching forging, and having +1/+1 on the cavalry is going to be very helpful. It might even just be a repeat of what happened the last game, except this time Shock has a lot more spears at the ready. Walling up the right side is really good here. I'm actually very surprised that neither player towered. Because like either player towering could be really disastrous for either one of these players. And actually that's open. Oh dear, that's open. Oh my god. Poor Shock. And his spears are like 20 tiles away from the scouts. These are +1/+1 scouts too, so these are gonna do a lot of damage. +2 is getting researched right now, and only 1 stable knights, but I don't think it matters because you already know there's a hole here. And the knight's gonna come here and smack this wall. I think it's looking quite horrible for Shock actually. The wall does go off here though, which is quite nice, but yeah, the forward siege is going to be dropped up. God's Own Sling, man. God's Own Sling has been showing in this series that he is actually very much capable of 1 TC aggression as he is with macro. So I'm actually very amazed by the flexibility of which God's Own Sling has opened. But like I said, the problem is like some of his macro behind hasn't been very great in feudal. But like you know what I say, like if your macro is good enough in castle where it really matters, I think that's really good. You can see that there's a very huge Veil disparity between the two. Why? Because God's Own Sling added 1 TC behind this, so he's actually up 8 Veils, 11 Veils from his opponent, and he has 2 stable knights. Wait, 1 stable knights and siege on the way. But Shock doing a good job of sniping the scorps. The sniping the scorps is actually really important here, because as long as you keep the scorp numbers down, he needs to send forward the spears actually, because having just these few extra spears to help do some stuff is going to be very important. Hang on guys. Okay, sorry about that guys. Man, these oh actually these are doing quite a bit. They are up 2 upgrades though. He really needs the spears. Oh no. GG. Oh, that was quite a disastrous game, but well played by God's Own Sling. He was actually as capable of putting forward 1 TC, well technically that was 2 TC aggression, which is a very safe opening by the way. 2 TC aggression is actually a very safe opening. But what a game guys, what a game. Today I learned that God's Own Sling is just as good as having a macro opening as he is with an aggressive opening. And like I said, that's actually one of the most important skills in AoE 2, it's not being able to get good micro and macro, but to be able to have a good game plan. Because once you have a good game plan, the rest of the stuff will follow. The macro, the micro, all that lovely, delicious and juicy stuff. It's all gonna come once you have a better idea of what you need to do. So even though the sieves were a bit weird in this game, it ended up working fine for both of these players. And like I said, I don't blame Shock for feeling that he couldn't win this game. I still felt that he had a chance because like he had quite a bit of spears on the field. He just needed to snipe the scorps with his knights. So, and if you look at his rest count, he actually has a lot of food. If he sends some of his veils to wood, I really felt like he keeps committing to stone, which he probably shouldn't. Like there are games where you should not commit to stone at all, and this is actually one of those games. Because your opponent, if your opponent is up to castle first, putting veils on stone is just gonna put you more behind. So yeah, that's how I feel about this. He did a good job of sniping the scorps, but I really felt like he didn't really do enough. I mean, like, once his upgrades kick in, he has the rest for it, by the way. Once his upgrades kick in, the rest will follow. Like, he just needed more veils on wood. If he put more veils on wood, if he secured more wood, I think he'll be in a better position. But yeah, that's why I don't really like Atacama as much, because Atacama is very, very snowbally, and like you could lose very easily just because sorry about that. Just because your opening didn't do as much pressure as it could have. Like one guy tried to tower me, but like I counter tower, immediately shut it down, and so I had wood and heat, and I was hitting him with archers the whole time. So yeah, Godson's Sling with 15-10 though. Must have been a lot of the spears, but I really felt like the game could have gone either way. I just felt that like Shock shouldn't have put any views on stone. Like he should just keep his views on wood. And did you know guys that in this situation, if you towered when you saw the siege shop, if you towered your wood line, you would still be in a very good position. Because the only thing that can fight a tower is rams and mangonels. Mangonels can be sniped by knights. Rams can be sniped by knights. And you're not very afraid of rams or mangonels if you went knights plus pikes. You really aren't very afraid. I just felt that that the rest balance could have been done a bit better for Shock. But like I said, Atacama is a very hard map to really read. Actually, he's only 30 seconds behind. I really felt like he shouldn't have put any wheels on stone though. Like, having a castle is nice, but it's not the be all and end all. In this game, you can't go throwing axemen. You needed Pike Knights could work here as Franks. Knight Monk Siege could also work here. I don't think Camille have very good answers for Knight Monk Siege. If they go Hussar for your monks and siege, you can, just because Frank eco is so strong, you can still technically do whatever the hell you want in that situation. But yeah, very well played from both of these players. I enjoyed casting those games, even though I got interrupted so much today. I'm terribly sorry about the interruptions, but I will lessen these interruptions in the post edit. But here, guys, we see that. Oh fuck. Did I mess that up? I'm very sorry I messed that up. Okay, I'm gonna redo the image. I'm sorry guys. If I feel like I just woke up from a very long nap because I just totally messed that up. I totally messed up the arrows. Okay. And I only realized it after I opened it. I'm like, oh wait, arrows are completely off. Alright. I'm actually very surprised by how one-sided some of these series have been. Like we saw, like I don't know how the rest of this game is gonna, rest of this tournament is gonna play out. But here's the proper one. So Shock will move on to the losers bracket, and he will face his next opponent, Khalid or Charles, and God's Own Sling taking the victory to the winners bracket, and we'll see who he faces. I'm actually very excited to see the next series of this game, but we shall see who we might face next. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.